it to your business and ask me questions. That's ultimately what this is. And if there's something that you watched or you heard today and it wasn't clear, give me a call, get on my schedule, and I want to talk to you guys individually about it, because ultimately, I mean, these are the absolute models that we should be building our business around, because, you know, don't reinvent the wheel. This is kind of the absolutes of plugging and chugging, working backwards. And as Gary Keller says, when you stick with the model first, well, then you can apply your creativity second. These models work. They really do. So I trusted them, and I've had success with them myself, which is why I get so excited. In fact, if you watched or attended the first one, I mean this, I'm not exaggerating when I say I was able to leave my job. I was a physical therapist for years before I went into real estate. What allowed me the mental capacity and the trust to step into real estate as a full-time position was having the blessing of attending Gene Rivers Business Planning Clinic back in probably 2013, because Aaron was the agent at the time and I was the agent getting licensed. And because I was married to him, I guess I was allowed to go. But anyway, it was a true blessing, because I sat there in Gene Rivers Business Planning Clinic and I could listen to all of these models, and it took away the crossing and the fingers and the hope of, well, if I'm a realtor and if I tell my friends I'm a realtor, then I hope my phone rings, because that's what everybody thinks is real estate before you actually get into the business. Quite the opposite. I went up to Northern Kentucky or Cincinnati area, spent the night up there, did an entire day and a half on this clinic, and could see, no, this is not a guess. This is not a popularity contest. This is not, you know, how many family members are going to happen to hire me. It is, these are my goals. These are my models, and this is what I have to do to get there. And so that was just such a godsend that I sat in that class, because had I waited another year or two to listen to Gene Rivers line it out, I don't know where I would be. So, you know, we went home and we just literally workshopped this. We started with the goal and we worked backwards and we applied the models. So where I'm going to pick back up today, and feel free at any point, you guys, to use this hour to interrupt me, ask questions. I'm really bad at checking the chat, especially when I'm screen sharing. So just interrupt me. I'm easy peasy. So I'm going to bridge and do a little bit of overlap as we shift into this second hour, second level workshop. And this is just a quick rundown of the highlights of the economic model. And this is in the manual that you guys have as an attachment from Amy. It's page 3.15. I guess we didn't want to just label it regular numbers because we just like to keep it fun. So it's 3.15, but they're in order, at least it makes sense. And to always remember, by starting with your net income goal, remember your net is the money that you take home before you pay Uncle Sam. Okay. Taxes are not part of this. Don't forget that very, very important piece, please. You want to always divide your net income by 0.4. That represents the 40%. Because when you're running your business like a business and you're spending appropriately, you're going to have that 40, 30, 30 model. 40% net, 30% operating expenses, and 30% cost of sale. Keeping in mind that one of the most challenging pieces for me forever was trying to separate, well, was it an operating expense or was it cost of sale? My brain had a hard time defining that, but it got real easy real quick when I quickly understood that cost of sale is associated with anything that is a cost only if you close a transaction. Meaning, if you have team members, the splits that you pay them. Technically, if you have a transaction fee, and a lot of us may or may not with however we hire, or if we use a supporter model, and let me back up, transaction fee is going to be a confusing term. If you pay a transaction coordinator per transaction, that would be a cost of sale. It's only the money that you have to spend if you close a transaction. Everything else is operating expenses, meaning no matter how many houses I sell in 2021, I'm going to have to pay these operating expenses no matter what. Keep it very, very, very simple for yourself. So 40, 30, 30, and you add that together and that gets your total GCI. GCI stands for gross commissions income. Okay. Those are the checks that you take away from the title company and walk in and drop off in the happy box. All right. So you want to divide those. I'm just going to kind of highlight things for you to remember when you're putting your numbers backwards on this. You have to first decide if you're going to be 50-50 listing versus buying side. Some people, if your goal is to be 60-40, 60 on the listing, more power to you. I hope you do. If you know that you're buyer heavy and that's what you're going to work around, then reverse it. Or if you're just going to split it down the middle, 50 and 50 to the buy and sell. So that would be a multiplier of 0.5 if half of the transactions that you close are listings, in other words. And as you work down these lines, what you're really working through is the fallout for your conversions. This accounts for the number of listings under contract that actually get to closing. And then it also accounts for the number of listing appointments that you go on that actually turn into a signed listing. We have to bust through both of those levels of doors before we even have the opportunity to start using it mathematically, right? And here's a great opportunity. Today is December 29th. A lot of people say, Alyssa, I think my conversion rate's 80%, might be 90. I feel really good about it. I think my conversion rate is a whole lot better than the 75% that the manual has used. And you know what? It might be. And if you don't know, start tracking now. Track every single appointment that you go on. Track every single appointment that converted to a contract. And that's either a listing contract or a buyer's agreement and or purchase contract, and then track what percentage of those got to the closing table. Every single agent has fallout, every single agent. But when you know what your splits are, or excuse me, when you know what your conversion rates are, it's going to make your model more accurate, and it will reveal truth in what you need in terms of your appointments. A lot of us have a better than 75% conversion rate. Well, guess what? That's going to plug and chug down here to this number to be less appointments that you're going to need to go on to get your goal. Now, the other thing that I want you to scratch a note on, and again, I know that I'm repeating some of what we talked about last time, but this is important. I want you to decide today if you're going to work on a 10-month model or if you're going to work on a 12-month model. Neither one of those are better or worse. It just has to do with how you view it. In other words, I have run my business on a 10-month model before, because that way I knew that if I had all of my transactions pended by November 1st, that there was a high probability that they were going to actually close out by December 31st, which means I would have my closed transaction number the same. That was sort of my buffer for getting things closed by the end of the year. Again, it does not matter. Just know what you're working with and know that there's two different lenses for that. Does anybody have any questions about this page specifically? All right. And the big firework that I want to light off is, don't freak out when you see a really big number for appointments that you need to go on in a calendar year. When you see that number, it should be big because you're thinking big and you are all capable of big businesses and big goals. I encourage you feeling a little taken aback when you see that yearly number. But then after that, you take a big deep breath and you say, okay, hang on. This is possible. And I'm going to make this feel a lot better because first I'm going to divide it by 12 or 10 to get the monthly appointment goal. And then from there, I'm going to divide that number by 4 to get a weekly goal. So a lot of these really big numbers, by the time you drill it down to a weekly goal, it's a whole lot. It's just so much easier to conceptualize. I know that I need one signed contract per month, per week. That's going to get me, assuming I work 50 weeks of the year, 50 transactions. And I don't think many of us would be sad if we were sitting in this seat this time next year and we had closed 50 transactions. I know I would feel really good about myself. Very, very good and very thankful and grateful is probably a better way to say it. So, Alrighty, so let's keep working on. I also want to touch and make sure that you guys fully understand a 411 worksheet. Again, Keller Williams, I'm looking and seeing who's on the call right here. So a lot of us are really accustomed to, or may not be accustomed to, the 135, the 411, and I don't want your head to spin. I want you to understand what we mean and really drill down to the why of it and have clarity around what 411 means. Okay. And so actually a 411 is a worksheet that I encourage you to print off one of these every single week of the year, or at the beginning of the month, print 4, because you should be hanging up a new 411 every single week. Because really what your 411 is doing is considering your annual goal, which is of course your yearly goal. And then you have to consider that monthly goal. So if it's on the month, if you have to go on 4 appointments per month, 2 of those are listing appointments and 2 of those are buyer appointments, each month that's going to be 4 new people. So each week is going to look a little different on how you're moving through the pipeline. The 411 is your dynamic way of tracking your goals. And guys, I'm telling you, when you write your goals down and you put it in a place that you see it every day, I'm a huge fan of Google and Google Docs and Google Files, and thank goodness. And I love saving trees and I love the rainforest. But this girl right here has got to have it hanging, smacking me in the face every day, that I don't even have to necessarily go and click on the drive and get it off my Google. It needs to be in front of me, or it needs to be my Post-it note. I have Post-it notes all around me, because when you see it every day, it's going to change your wiring in your head on how you approach it. And then it gets you into action, which then gets you into achieving your goals. So what should be on these weekly goals, I encourage you, I love to use these columns right here to know that if I have to go on, for example, 1 listing appointment and 1 buyer appointment on week 1 of January 1 of 2021, well, that's my goals right there. I've got an appointment goal, but I better put some strategies down here. Okay. Because there's nothing worse than waking up on January 4th, 2021, and you've got the 1 listing appointment and 1 buyer appointment goal for the week, but you haven't thought about what you're going to do to get it. And that's where you put your lead generation model and you layer it on top of this economic model, because you know that you have decided that you're going to choose 3 or 4 pillars of business that work best for you. You're going to choose to work your sphere. You're going to choose to work I don't know what you chose, I'm making examples, your Facebook command leads. You're going to work open houses, and you're going to call 2 FSBOs a day or a week. So those are your 4 pillars of business. You've got FSBOs, open houses, command leads, and sphere. So you've defined all of those. Now your action steps, okay, it has to go further than that. Okay, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to work 1 open house this week. I'm going to take week 2 off from open houses. I'm going to work an open house on week 3, and then I'm going to take week 4 of open houses off. Okay. Get very deliberate. Know exactly when you wake up on January 4th, what you are going to be doing as far as action steps. And then you'll quickly realize that when your focus moves from needing to make X dollars at the end of the year, when your focus moves from the dollars and your focus moves into the actions, you are in actions, and your actions will result in your income. It's all in your mindset and how you plan it and think about it and strategize and goal set for it. Okay. And again, grab all these documents off of your email as you need. Any questions about that piece? So let's talk about the lead generation model. Okay. And again, I think we're overlapping just a little bit, but this is worth revisiting. I feel very strong about the fact that real estate is not easy, but it's simple. There are so many great ways to get leads. And you're going to look up and you're going to hear about a team who has transformed their lives based on expired listings, which is fantastic. There are some people that would rather die than call an expired listing and hear about all the net, point being, what works for you is not going to work for the next person. So just because this sunshine team is really good at this, and this doesn't mean that it has to be yours. When you think about choosing your 3 to 4 ways to lead generate, and there's going to be some from the prospecting side and some from the marketing side, I want you to make choices that are natural to who you are and how you like to communicate with people, because you're going to be a lot more excited to do that. And then you're going to have a lot more success because your probability of actually doing it will go way up. Keeping in mind that prospecting and marketing are both important, but marketing is not prospecting and prospecting is not marketing. Okay. Marketing is really expensive. It works. Marketing, I love marketing because what it does is when marketing's done well, it creates opportunities for you to have easier prospecting conversations. Meaning when you're marketing yourself and you're getting your brand out and you've got your yard signs out and you are on Facebook, marketing is a one way, okay? Marketing goes this way. It's all about me and I'm putting myself out there. Well, when they've seen my face in all these different places and they've seen my brand and they've seen my Just Clothes and they've seen this, well, guess what? It makes it easier to prospect so that when I get into conversation and I create the two-way conversation that allows me to add value to them, ask about their motivation, and show up as a professional, all that marketing has helped me garner trust, garner proof of experience. You've provided them a little bit of backfill, basically, a little bit of foundation so that their choice is a little bit easier for you. That's kind of how I look at it. So you got to market, and there's lots of ways to advertise. You can pay per click. I mean, market out of command, you guys. It's averaging $1.87 a lead, which you can't find anywhere. And the human brain needs, 36 touches a year is what Gary Keller is telling us. Mailing is fantastic. Direct mail is super effective. It's very professional. But if you don't have it in the budget, you aren't shut off from that. You can walk or get in a car, have someone drive you, sit in the passenger seat and paper box. All right. Get in the passenger seat. It goes a lot faster. Or put your kid in the passenger seat and you drive. It goes a lot faster. And when you walk it, you have an opportunity to maybe run in some neighbors, say hi, which is great too. Your job as a realtor to get yourself out there is really just to create conversations. And when you get another person talking and you know enough to say, wait in your head, why am I talking? Then people will start to share, oh, you're in real estate. I've been thinking of buying a house. Really? Why? Not what, ask why. Well, this is my lifestyle. Oh, so what do you need for that to happen? And you just keep peeling back the layers. You be a professional question asker and you will see your lead generation explode, because you don't have to sell yourself anymore at that point. You are providing opportunity. Ultimately, we serve people. That's what we do. We have a great product, but at the end of the day, our job as realtors, the reason that Zillow can't take over our industry is because a computer and a website and a technology can't serve a person. And that's what we do. They can't understand why this life circumstance creates a need that's meaningful to a family. So use your marketing, get yourself out there, use your prospecting to provide opportunities for two-way conversations that provide value. Okay. Any questions about that? All righty, let's stop on database for just a minute. You think of yourself as a big funnel or a net, whatever works for you, okay? And your job is to be adding to your database. You want to be catching contact. You want to be catching leads, because first you get a lead and then it gets to earn its way to a contact, okay? And your database is how you house that and work it at a very, very, very high level. And if you're going to have a business that's big enough to meet the goals that you're setting, and I hope that that's kind of the speak and the lane that you're going into, you're going to need to have some automation with your database because it is impossible to stay in a meaningful a meaningful relationship with as many people who need to know that you're a realtor. Okay. That doesn't mean that we cheapen how you feel about them or any of that, but you've got to have some automation. You have to have a database that works, AKA Command, a CRM that communicates with automation offloads so that you can stay in high level relationship with people. And again, technology, Command, whatever you use, if it's not Command, that's fine too. Whatever that is, the best CRM for you is a CRM that's working. Okay. This is not a Command commercial, so I don't mean to make it sound that way. I just know that there's amazing opportunity in it. But when you have the CRM that's working your leads to contacts and then dripping and contacting with them 36 times per year or it's helping you contact 36 times per year, it allows you to have more meaningful conversations and more meaningful relationships with you as the professional realtor. So as you've got your database that you are working and actively communicating with, and at the same time, you've got to feed your database. You have to feed your dog. You're supposed to feed your kids. You got to feed yourself. You have to feed your database. If you don't feed it, it won't grow. If I don't feed the dog doesn't grow. We've got to get it growing. And because your database works on a ratio of however many people I have in my database, I can count on this many pieces of business. It's real estate math. You have to know that if you have a bigger goal, you're going to need a bigger database that's worked on. Okay. And when it's a lead, that means that you have someone's lead information. You have hopefully their email, their address, and their name, maybe a phone number. And then they're a contact when you've created a two-way road, when a two-way conversation. And don't worry, they can still be a contact even if they're not buying property today. My mom's a contact. She said she's going to die in her house, and I believe her. She said, I'm never allowed to sell. I said, don't worry, Mom, I don't want to sell your house. but she's still a contact because there's still the relationship there. While she's not going to sell her house, what I do think she's going to do is tell her friends that Alyssa is good at real estate and she's going to take really good care of you. Her team's going to take really good care of you. I'm not selling anymore STL, but that's what you want to do. Your contacts are people who are also going to be your advocates, people who are at the party that say, oh, you're selling? I know of a great person who's going to be amazing for you. You know, it's Howie Lindsay, it's Jill Ballard, whomever that might be. Any questions as we go through database? I know this is not a database class, so I'm going to kind of glean over it because I could stay here for the rest of the hour and I don't want to do that. I want to get on to our newer material because we did talk about this last time as well.
I'm using Command exclusively, and when I get Facebook leads, they all go into the same pot as everybody. Mm-hmm. So how do is it just a tag thing that I separate leads from actual contacts?
Yes. What you can do, and there's so many different ways that you can do it. I do know that you can bulk tag. Mm-hmm. And I would encourage you to either bulk tag your Facebook leads, because I do know there's a way to do it. I haven't done it yet, but I do remember learning about it from Marty Miller in the past few weeks. I've been doing a lot of training on Command. You can either do it on the inbound, because the other thing that Command has the capability to do is pull them in and automatically have them on a drip campaign that's kind of at the level of an online lead, which is a different campaign than others. So yes. They can all be housed in the database. What really matters though is that you understand as the agent the level of leads within your database. You should be able to look at your database at any point in time and be able to pull out your A/B level people, or however you categorize hot, cold, however you want to do it. But that's what I would say. Because if you do enough Facebook lead generation, you're going to look up and have thousands of leads and you won't even know what to do with them.
Right.
Which sounds like a great problem to have, but a lot of agents find that if they have a ton of leads it's really hard to separate the tire kickers from the active people. It gets overwhelming and the people find themselves not working it.
Yeah, it's about 4 or 5 a day right now, but I could see why how it could get bigger. Yeah,
it can get bigger fast. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. What I want to do is get over into the next model here. We talked about the budget model. We talked about cost of sale. We went through all this last time. I want to get over to the organizational model. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy. I sincerely apologize. All right, so when we talk about the organizational model, what we are referring to is the fact that Gary Keller believes that when we run real estate as a business, that we have the ability, if we choose to do so, to hire out, to create roles for people, that when you've got the right person sitting in the right chair doing what their gifts and talents is, doing and executing what their gifts and talents have been bestowed upon them, they're going to be happier, they're going to be more productive. And oh yeah, it leverages you for the parts of the business they need to be doing. And it allows you to be doing your dollar producing activities, such as lead generating, going on appointment, negotiating contracts, and going to closing table. So when we talk about the org model, I don't want anybody to think that it is wrong if you say a solo agent. It is not wrong, never was, never will be. It's not less, it's not inferior. It's just different. Your org model just has one red circle and that's you. But Gary Keller said, hey, if you don't want that and you want something bigger, here's what your opportunities are, okay? Because he knows that there's a path to growing and you always have to figure out what that's going to look like in terms of leverage. And if you've read the MREA and you think of the E to P model, basically, if you don't know what that is, that's you get to capacity and you essentially kind of bump on a ceiling and you've got to bust through that ceiling to get to the next level. But a lot of business people find you can't bump on that ceiling until you leverage with something. And it might be technology. And, Command is a leverage tool. It is a lever. It is an absolute lever. And a lever means I can do more business because this is being handled for me in some way. But in another way, it's often people. And man, when it's the right person, you guys, your world will change. I'll brag on Brittany later. I don't think she's on this call. I'm sure she's not. She's my marketing. She's our marketing specialist. She's an admin. And when we hired her, I got so much faster in production. And we grew, once there was a training period. It's pulling back on a bow and arrow. So you got to slow down to speed up a little bit, you guys. But when we stopped and trained her in, and then she owned it, her KPA matches where she needs to be. She is a marketer. She is a designer. She's creative. Her personality fits in that space in terms of how she interacts. Our business changed. It will be forever changed because we made the right hire. And it allowed me, even though she costs money. But when we were able to buy that piece of our business, we not only have more income, but we created an opportunity for somebody, which is huge. When you have a business that's big enough to create opportunities, to create a job for somebody else, that's a really, really, really cool thing to experience. And if that's what you want to experience, the opportunity for that is here. So here's one example of a organizational model, and yours does not have to be exactly this. It depends on your goals. So this organizational model is you stepping out of the business. This is pretty seventh level. This is a team who has production going at a very, very high level, and they've expanded. Expansion is something that works very well when you're kind of tapped out or reaching the edges of your fishbowl for your local market. And so Gary Keller said, well, that can't stop you. If you want to go do your business in a different market, well, let me show you. You don't even need to be licensed necessarily in that state, but you can expand if and only if and when and only when you have your administrative hub locked down tight and they are a well-oiled machine. Because technically, when you can have all your models locked in place, when your lead gen model is running well, when your economic model is running well, and you are on budget, Absolutely. Go drop it in another town and start. And there are agents that do it well. We've got a couple here in the office that do it great. I'm in conversation with someone who's interested in maybe bringing an expansion expansion partner to our market center. It is such a wonderful opportunity, you guys. That might feel like really far off right now, but at least keep it in your scope. And for some of y'all, that might be your next move. Everybody's in a different spot here on this call. But to explain this model a little bit, this is 7th level, meaning this person, you have built out a business that you essentially can step away from altogether and reap the benefits of what has been built. So there's a CEO that's running all operations here. Gary Keller often says, a great way to think about hiring your fantastic admin is to hire them maybe with consideration that they might be a great CEO down the road, because that's a big deal. And the CEO kind of leads the first branches here, the director of lead generation. There's a whole lead generation hub out here. The director of operations that have been broken up to transaction coordinator, listing manager. That might be a little different from, like, for example, our team has a transaction coordinator and a marketing specialist. However you define it, the point is they're leveraged pieces, they're leveraged people. And the CEO also looks after and runs the director of sales. So there is a director of sales agent that works right here, and they lead, they never boss, they never manage. If you're bossing and managing, reevaluate. They lead the buyer agents. They lead the listing agent. Oh, and there's so much production on this team because we've got all these other spaces running at such a high level. Our leads are coming in, our transactions are being managed, people are happy, we've got massive referral business. Oh yeah, well, my buyer agent now has so many appointments to go on that we need a showing assistant or two to open those doors. So my buyer agent is so busy right now writing contracts, negotiating contracts, and going down that path. But what's really important as we talk about an organizational model, and that was 7th level, some people get to level 4 and they're super happy, which is not yet stepping out of the business, you're still CEO. But with the hiring process, there's a really important place to pause before you make the hire. You want to make sure that you've explored all of your options. You need to determine if that's going to be a person or a system or technology. It might be a tool. We don't know what that's going to look like yet, but make sure that you have a lot of clarity on what your need is and what your gap is, and that you're filling it appropriately. There is a course called Career Visioning that Keller Williams teaches, because the only thing worse than not having enough help is having the wrong help. And many times we make a hire and it fails, not because that person is bad or mean or terrible, it's because you made the hire for a job that they're not fit to do. We've got to stop and understand that, again, going back to gifts and talents, my skill set and my passion and my gifts are not what Linda Hill's are. She's got different ones. And Linda might be able to fit herself into forcing to line up to my job description, but if it's not really who she is and how she operates and likes to operate, she's going to burn out. She's not going to be happy. And she's going to say, you know what, Alyssa, I've got another opportunity. Thank you. It's just not her place. And when you take career visioning, you're going to learn a lot of career visioning talks about understanding people and understanding their gifts and talents so that you can put them in a place that they're going to succeed. Okay. If you have not taken a KPA, I would encourage you to do that, and send me an email if you want one. And I'll go over your KPA with you, because you will learn quickly, specific to real estate as well, where you're going to be, where you're going to thrive. And when you look at your results, you're going to be like, yeah, that's why buyers wear me out. That's not a mean thing, but the tasks that, I'm not saying me personally, but the tasks that are involved with working with buyers all day might completely wear somebody out who prefers to work in the numbers and be organized and design systems or do marketing. I guarantee the proper admin hire that you make will get worn out with running around fires, because those are two different people. No one's better, right, or wrong. They're just two different people. And when you understand that you're hiring the right person and you've taken the time to understand how they communicate, you've taken the time to understand how you communicate, you work better together, and it's more success, and you lose your turnover rate. It also lets us have more grace with people, because if I'm some D that I'm high level D, I'm a driver, I put my nose down, I don't have tolerance for less than 100%. That's okay if you're like that. That's like me. I'm like that. But someone like me who's a high D might say something that would not look compassionate to someone who's high on their social. Okay. It doesn't mean that I meant anything by it. It's just how I look at the world, and it's how they look at the world. And if I've lost sight of that, I'm not going to work well with people, and I'm not going to understand them. And that's not fair. All right. So reach out to me if you want more information on the next career visioning, because before you make a hire, I strongly recommend plugging into it. It'll just save you money, save you time, and keep you happier. Happiness, money, and time are good things to have, right? I like those things. All righty. So the hiring path, let's go over the order. And there is an order. Try not to go out of order, even though this might feel counterintuitive if this is the first time that you've gone through this. The first level, you as an agent, we're all at least at the first level because we're all licensed agents, I believe, on this call. It's you. You're doing it all. You are lead generating, you are running your budget, you are taking care of all of it. And that's okay. It's a great place to start. All right. However, you've gotten yourself, because you followed the models, you are running out of time, or you are frustrating your family because you are never home and all you are doing is working and looking at your phone. And while the money's good, that's not what Keller Williams wants you to do. All right. This is God family business. And if you've got your priorities out of line, you're going to feel it. And while your bank account might be good, you're going to find that that's not meaningful to you. So leverage becomes really important so you can have a life worth living, guys. And the first hire that you need to make is an admin. And if you have not been in the seat before, when you get to needing leverage, you are going to think, Alyssa, you need a buyer agent. Your problem right now is that you have a lot of leads and you have a lot of people to take care of, and you need someone that knows how to do knows how to work with buyers, or just another agent, buyer's agent, listing it, whatever you call. No. And you're going to say, but Alyssa, an admin costs me money. And if I'm going to make a hire, they're going to need to make money too. They're going to need to, that's the only way I can afford it. No, Angie, when you hire an admin first, you are going to automatically make more money and spend less time doing it, because you've leveraged non-dollar producing activities to someone who loves doing those activities, and they're good at doing those activities, and they're happy at doing those activities. And you are now working more efficiently and doing more business. Good job. You hired the admin first, not the buyer agent first. All right. And the recommendation is to, when you go to your third level, when you say, okay, I've got my admin, now I need a buyer agent, right? Gary Keller says, wait. He says, pause, my son. Pause, boy. And he says, no, you need one more level of assistance, because again, when you realize that you've got two administrative people helping your business, they are creating business for you, and they are transacting and working and organizing the business that you are also lead generating and attracting. So the suggestion of this model is that after your lead, you've got a lead admin that now runs a transaction coordinator. Okay. Now, when we get to fourth level, this is where we're really, really going. We've got two people in addition to you that's working with your administrative work. They are helping with transaction. They're probably doing marketing. They are doing everything that's not dollar producing. And again, one of the best activities that my business coach ever had me do was to literally get out a blank piece of paper and write down every single task that I do through the day. And this was before I had the right admin. every single task that I do. And then she said, all right, now that's a few pages long, right? And we're like, yeah, because real estate has 800,000,001 details associated with it every day. She said, okay, put your pen down. Now go get a highlighter. And I want you to highlight the activities that make money for you and that require your expertise, your heart, and your care to carry out. And guess what? My list that got highlighted went from, like, you can't see my screen, went from really big to really small. And that was an aha moment for me, because again, that lead admin, that transaction coordinator can take care of those things so that I can be in the space that I was made to be. And that's the realtor serving my people, being there for my people, lead generating, attracting people to my database. And then it's kind of handed off. And your clients will win for it as well. Well, you've gotten that far. Well, now you're ready to make more hires in terms of getting to new positions, as far as a showing assistant, someone to help open doors, perhaps paying by the door usually is a great setup for that. And to start to get into buyer agents. The model that Gary Keller, if you'll read it, is going to be buyer agents first. And I want you to stay with the model, and I want you to hear this very well, because I get the question. I'm just going to put it out there. And some of you all who've been in these shoes will nod with me. I can see some of y'all have hired teams. Do I have to just have buyer agents, and do I just have to have listing specialists? And the answer is not necessarily. The model will separate it, and there are agents who do it beautifully separated. In other words, you have agents who only work with buyers and agents who only work with listings. And if you do that well, great. There are other teams that have found more success in continuity with working with buyers and sellers because it's the same person. So one agent per client. Okay. And that's not wrong. I would not discourage that. However, as you're building out your organizational model and you're making hires, I would encourage you to start them with buyers first and hang out in that buyer space for a while and kind of earn their way to working with listings next, because working with buyers is a great way to learn the business. It will make you, when you're really good with buyers, you're going to be really good as a listing specialist or an agent who works with buyers and sellers. Does anybody have any questions or concerns with that? Okay. So the other fourth level positions that are built out here in the part 2, we talked about the showing assistant, an outbound sales associate, the lead buyer agent, a lead manager, and an inbound sales associate. So these are lead generating people that are working to bring business to the agents who are producing now. And at this point, it's still just a buyer agent and you working with clients. The rest are helpful administrative level type people. Now, going into the 5th level, it leverages on the seller side. You hire the buyer agent first. And the 5th level, you are going for more profitability. You're going to build your lead generation division. So you'll want to build in a director of operations first in part 1, and then a listing agent in part 2. Okay. So your director of operations is somebody that's overseeing and leading the transaction coordinator and the listing manager. That's what we talked about on the first page of this. Well, that listing agent comes over here in part 2. So you now have listing agent, lead buyer agent who's helped with the showing assistants, director of operations running all of the administrative level, and then a lead manager. This is your lead generation hub right here. They're making inbound and outbound lead generating contacts and calls. Okay. Now you're chugging. Now you're ready to go into the 6th level. And for this, that's when they start to bring in the expansion. Meaning before we added this right here, we've got this hub going. You've got a group of people who understand how to lead generate, bring business to the team. You've got someone that knows how to manage all of your marketing and your contract to close at a very high level. So your systems are great. Your clients feel like this is a smooth transaction. It's well handled. And then you've got people who are actually in the sales, and they are working with buyers and sellers, or however you choose to set that up. Now you're ready to expand and go do that exact same thing with your sign, your brand, your teams, the team brand, the team sign, with a different city in the background, which gets really fun really fast. And you are still right here at the helm. You are commanding this ship right here, and you're having a lot of fun, and you have learned a lot, and you are doing many, many things. And you've had the opportunity to wear these hats and then leverage the hat to someone else. And look at how much opportunity you've created. If you got yourself to part 2 of the 6th level, you've created opportunity for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, about 13 families. That's the bigger picture. Oh yeah, and it's profitable. That's great too. But when you focus on opportunities and having meaning and living out the mission, look at where you are. How cool is that? That's meaningful. And hopefully at this point, you are having dinner with your family at night, most nights, and you're able to take vacations and breathe and have meaning. And that's fantastic. And now retirement is not defined by your age in real estate. And real estate gives you the opportunity that, should you choose to do so, you've got the tools and the ability and the book of the path to say how you can step out of it. It is time to replace yourself. You used to be that CEO right there, and you've gotten everybody off and running, and you have hired the director of lead generation, and you have hired the director of operations, and you have hired the director of sales, and you hired the director of expansion. Your directors have helped make their hires, by the way, because they know what they need. We're working well. Now it's time for you to pass the hat if you choose to do so. And this is you passing the hat again. It's not waiting for an age. It's not waiting for a circumstance. It's when you're ready to do so. And if that's your goal, your job at this point is to carry out the vision for your team and to make sure what does not go away in this role here, in my opinion. And I'm still learning how people are running their business when they've stepped out totally. This has a lot more clarity than this. But when you step out, what you can't lose is your need to continue to share your vision and your requirement to continue to create a world that all of these people's lives can fit in. And if you're doing it right, and when you've hired talent, their world is going to get bigger each year, each business planning clinic year. They're going to stretch and grow. And hopefully they're going to push you to need more and to stretch and to grow and to respond to that and to create opportunities that keep them having the life that they want to live in a meaningful way as well. And then, oh yeah, you can expand in 1 city, 2 cities. There's teams with 10 cities. I don't know what the maximum city is at this point. I do know that there are teams doing it at a very high level in multiple cities very, very well. Any questions about that model before I spin past it? I think an important aha that I've heard Gary Keller and lots of other instructors make a point with, and I want to go back and pause here for a minute, is you yourself, while you can be part of hiring or approving or kind of giving your blessing on a hire, when you have made good hires for your directors, they are going to make good decisions about the people they hire. So you're not this hiring machine. Gary Keller doesn't hire a lot of people for himself. He has hired talent, and he trusts people because he worked with them and helps share their vision. There's a trust there that they have then been able to grow and create opportunity for themselves as well. There's a lot of agents as well that you'll see, and this is encouraged in the model. Some buyers agents on really big teams will attract buyers kind of under their umbrella and kind of share a portion of their sale. But in return, they'll train in and help bring up that buyer agent or that agent, because that's another leverage piece for you. Hiring is difficult, needs to be leveraged when applicable, and training also needs to be leveraged because you do not have more time in the day than anyone else. You need to get real clear, real fast about where your time needs to be to create success for other people. You can't be the jack of all trades. That's hard for some of us people who love control. but other people can do it better than you. Be humble. It's good. It's okay. There's lots of people that do lots of other things lots better than I do. And the quicker you are to accept that, the easier your life will be, and everybody will be happier. Here's big traps that I want to touch on before we're done, because we've got 5 minutes and I respect your time. Here's the organizational model traps, you guys. Not taking career visioning. Another class is called 30, 60, 90. It's kind of like a lean in, slowly train in, kind of earn your way a little bit into the 90th day for leverage. If you don't have clarity around your profit and loss statement, and if you don't have clarity around the cost of a hire, that could get real slick real quick and not be fun. You have to make sure that you're well equipped to make those decisions, and career visioning will help you understand what that looks like. And these models, for example, will help you understand that. You've got to constantly be looking at your budget model to make sure that you're running your 40, 30, 30. And if it's starting to flex a little too much in one way, are you responding well to it? Are you spending where you're getting a return? Is it making sense? Are you on model? Number 4, we talked about it. Don't skip levels. Don't let the buyer agent be your first hire. It gets tricky quick. A lot of people unfortunately fail that way. And we have to fail forward, but don't do it more often than you need to. Number 5 is not having the solid systems in place. Always have your systems defined, written out, because that creates the expectation for you. It creates the expectation for the person that you hire. It makes everybody know what they're supposed to do. People want to know what they're expected to do, and they want to know the system to fit it in. And those systems need to create the lead generation and conversion that you said it was going to be, and the conversion that made the math work for sure. And then the last thing that a lot of people will see, big teams do big things and they're really cool and they're real shiny. I mean, I know that, but just be careful that you're always going to have a quality over quantity. You'll get a headache really quick. You might burn out the business altogether if you just make hires because they have a heartbeat. I mean, you've got to be strategic. You have to be really sure of who you are, what your mission and your values are, and what your standard is. You have to have a lot of clarity about what you expect, because that's going to be successful for you and for anybody that joins you. So just be careful. Don't do it for the sake of a number or because someone else did it or because you think that you should. Make sure that you understand it and you believe it before you make that hire. Okay. This does go on into the expansion model a little bit more. But I think that it's very appropriate to stop where we are. Sorry, I'm a scroller right here. Okay. In terms of the organizational model. Now, I want you guys to, of course, ask any questions right now. If you have questions that are more specific to your business and you would like a one-on-one, you guys just make an appointment and send me an email and I will just get on my schedule, because my job, my passion is to help you guys. If you want to work through your economic model or your budget model, or you want to talk about hiring, that's what I do. That's me. So come and let's have a conversation about it, because I want to help you where you are. There's no question that's silly. There's nothing that would be inappropriate to feel lost about or to challenge. Poke holes in this. Ask about it. You know, let me know, because if I've not been through it, I bet somebody else has. And if I don't have the answer, I'll lead you to somebody who would have the answer, because I want this to be a great resource for you, and I want to be a great resource for you. So what questions can I answer before we finish up here? All good? All right. Well, guys, there are some awesome faces on this call, and I just want to thank you for joining me. I know December 29th can be a little bit of a hectic time as we're all wrapping up our businesses, but thanks for showing up and for being here. And I look forward to seeing your faces in 2021. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
We'll see you later. All righty. Bye-bye.